Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Insights. And Teacher Pauline, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. I'm always happy when you invite me onto the show.
It's always a pleasure to have you, particularly when we're talking about things like traveling or, in today's case, nature.
Oh, yeah. I loved this article.
Yeah? I was really amazed by just the information I learned in this article, all about beavers, right? I never knew that much about beavers, and I was really surprised and blessed by the things that I learned from this article. So how about yourself? Did you learn anything new about beavers from this month's nature article?
Some of it was just a resinder. I think I'd heard before that they are really good for the ecosystem and that they help with with the silt or something. It was something about the water management and with erosion and different things. That kind of rang a bell. But then that whole research study that they did with the beavers, how they would, once they heard the running water, then they would create the dam. But then if they didn't hear it and it was pretty slow moving, they would know not to. Just that was super interesting.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Right. Just the fact that they had that kind of instinctual knowledge.
Oh yeah, and then was it in that? I think it was in that article that they said even that beavers have that even without, like they're not taught it. Yeah, that it's just like oh, that was so interesting. Yeah.
Totally blew my mind. Totally blew my mind. So speaking of beavers and beautiful animals that blow our minds, if you were to live in a wildlife oasis, as is talked about in our article, what kind of wildlife would you like to be around?
Any kind of wildlife. Okay. I mean, usually when we say wildlife, right, we do usually mean animals in particular, right? So, and I just love wild animals of any kind, although I especially love marine life. So if I could live near a beach that just had like tons of tide pools full of creatures and you could go snorkeling or scuba diving and see more, I mean, that would be like my dream come true.
Absolutely. Maybe you can just become a mermaid or something like that.
I thought you were going to say marine biologist, but I like mermaid better.
So speaking of kind of living in these kinds of environments, obviously in order to live in those environments, you have to be living in harmony with the earth, right? So what is one thing that we can do to better coexist with the wildlife surrounding us?
I love this question. At the same time, I think it's one that every individual needs to answer for themselves because we all live in such different situations. Somebody who lives in a big city, it's going to be different than somebody who lives in a small town, than somebody who lives somewhere. So like when I lived in my part of Montana, I couldn't say, take public transportation, try not to have as much emissions because of it just wasn't an option. You had to drive a car. Here in the city, I'm so glad I can do public transportation more and I can bike places because they're closer by. So that's one of my answers. I think we can all work harder to recycle, use less plastics. Those are a couple simple things that everybody can do. But really, the best answer is think about where you're at and what those specific things you can do in your area to help.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pauline. That's a great answer. So take that to heart, everybody. Think about what you can do to improve the environment around you, wherever you are. And be sure to join us next time for our next episode of Insights.